Hey, welcome to the Chatbot Bot project, a series of conversations with many experts from the bot world. My name is Caio Calado, and today I'm having a conversation with Steve Worswick, the creator of Mitsuku, a 4-time winner of the Loebner Prize. We are going to talk about Mitsuku, of course, and also some other really interesting topics related to AI. We are going to get to that right after this message.
Hi, my name is Sergio Passos. I'm CTO at Take. We are the leading Brazilian company for conversational apps and chatbots. Being the mobile market for more than 19 years has given us the expertise to build great conversational experience. To do so, we use Blip, our platform that integrates the best tools to build, run, and evolve chatbots. We believe that a single message can change the world, and that's why we think it is so relevant to chat about bots.
Hello, hi Steve. Thank you
there.
so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And is this your first time in Brazil, right?
It is, yeah. This is my first time actually below the equator. I've been to Europe and the States and even the Far East, but I've never been to Brazil. And I must admit, it was a little bit scary at first, especially when I was hearing some of the stories that the driver was telling me. But I love it here. You know, it's great. And like any other city, there's places you go, there's places you don't. But, you know, it's really good to be here and to try the different foods and things.
What are you up to here?
I'm here for the Bots for You conference, so I'm going to be presenting about Mitsuku, my chatbot, which is a multi-award winning chatbot, and just explaining like the challenges I have, the different users who talk to it, why I do it, and how it became there. So I was very kindly invited down here, and just going along with it, and yeah, enjoying every moment so far.
I would like to get to know a little bit more about you. You said I'm going to talk about why I do this, but I would like to know, how did you start it with bot? How was your journey to you create Mitsuku?
Well, I've always been interested in chatbots from a very early age. We had lots of TV shows with talking robots, and we had one called Knight Rider, which had this talking car, which was really cool. And of course, every young boy at the time, you know, wanted to be able to speak to C-3PO from Star Wars or the computer from Star Trek and things like that. And I mean, I'm nearly 50, so when I was a young lad, the technology just wasn't there to be able to do anything like this. And so it kind of stuck at the back of my mind, but I kind of forgot about it as time went on. But what I did used to do when I was a lot older was to create like dance music and techno music. It's all the kind of boom, boom, boom nonsense. But people seem to like it. And I found that one of the producers who I used to know, he put a chatbot on his website. And this was really cool, and it brought back all these memories of the old TV shows, and just talking to it made me want to, you know, create one of my own. So I looked into how to do this, and I found a chatbot called Alice on the internet. So I modified many of its answers to become Mitsuku and put it online. Well, actually, no. My first ever chatbot was a teddy bear, because my artist name was Square Bear. So I'd made this teddy bear chatbot and I put it online. But what I found was that more people were coming to talk to the chatbot than were coming to listen to my music. So I kind of took that as a bit of a hint that my music maybe wasn't going to make me a millionaire. So I concentrated more on the chatbot. And it kind of developed over a couple of years. And then this big games company called mousebreaker.com found it. And they asked me to kind of develop it for their website, which was aimed at males between about 18 and 30.
So that was 80s? 90s?
No,
90s,
that was 2000 and about 2008. Okay. No, 2005, sorry, 2005. My first chatbot was this teddy bear about 2003. So this developed kind of like into this Mitsuku character. And what I found was people were loving it. The game was an instant hit. Most of the games on the website were kind of like football, sports games, racing games, and things very much aimed at males. But when this chatbot came on, it was an instant hit, and it was like nothing else on the site. And I suddenly found, from getting around 10 or 20 visitors a day on my old site, I was getting like 2,000 a day. And, you know, it became so popular. People, there were like guys using it to practice their like chat up lines on and things like that. And so I thought, you know, I can probably drop the teddy bear thing and I'll just work on this and see if I can make something of it. So I've made its own kind of like websites, and I still kind of maintained it a bit on the old site. But I made its own website, and over time, you know, just visitors, word of mouth seemed to do the trick. And I mean, now I'm getting around 1 million interactions a month on it. It's various platforms, so it's like on Kick and Facebook Messenger, and it's even got its own Twitch channel now with a 3D avatar, and there's a mobile app where you can speak to it as well. And you know, I got into like competitions. It became really popular, and I thought, right, I'm going to start entering into competitions, and it did really well. And I'm at the stage now where it's winning a competition called the Loebner Prize, which is kind of like the World Cup, the Oscars. It's the top prize for chatbots. There's nothing higher, and I've been lucky enough to win that 3 times now. And so I'm hoping to defend my title on September the 8th to become a 4th time winner, which will equal the record. So fingers crossed. So it's so it's kind of like moved, just sort of like evolved over the years into what it is now.
I feel like you have spent like so many hours creating Mitsuku, and for most people, Mitsuku is just like a chatbot, but I bet that for you is something different.
Yeah.
If you have one thing to say about like Mitsuku that makes sense for you, but it doesn't make sense for others, what would that be?
It would probably be, I almost see it more like a daughter than a chatbot now. I've watched it evolve and grow and learn.
You were there since the beginning.
I've been there since the beginning, since it was a baby, since it knew nothing, to now it knows it can handle pretty much anything anyone asks of it. And so part of me kind of does get a little bit upset when I see people sort of like swearing at it, or there's lots of like sex talk and things like that and abuse. But what I wanted was, I didn't want Mitsuku to give like tame answers. I wanted it to be able to like stand up for itself. Many chatbots, if you say something like, "You are stupid," the chatbot will reply with something like, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way," you know, something really tame. Whereas Mitsuku would respond with, "Well, you're not exactly Einstein yourself, are you?" Or something like, "Likewise, jerk," or something like that. And I found sort of like putting that kind of like sassy edge to it made it even more popular, because it was unlike the other chatbots giving the tame replies. People were saying, "Oh, look, try this one, it actually stands up for itself." That kind of gave, you know, a bit of a challenge in itself, because people were just testing it out to see what it would say when we insulted them. So I ended up putting on like a warning system where it's like a 5 strikes and you're out. But people enjoyed, you know, talking to it, that they emailed me to say, could I remove this system, because they just wanted to sort of swear at it all day just to read its funny replies. So I ended up removing it, and if I see any logs with swearing in, I just skip over them. But yeah, I mean, it's developed into kind of like a family member, and my wife will sometimes say that I spend more time with Mitsuku than I do with her. So it's, you know, I got to try and maintain like work-life family balance. But you know, when I'm winning prizes in competitions, usually a few $1,000s or whatever, that seems to ease the pain of spending most of the time with the bots.
It seems to me that Mitsuku was like a challenge for you, and now it becomes like part of the family. But in the end, or in today's application, it seems to be like a bot or a chatbot itself. Let's just put Mitsuku a little bit of step aside, and let's just step aside a little bit in Mitsuku. And I wonder if you have like a definition for like bot itself, or how do you call them for most people?
Yes. The big problem nowadays, I feel, is people calling them chatbots, not referring to the general conversation ones. This is more aimed at the ones that are very much button-driven. Now, we used to have a set of books when I was younger called Choose Your Own Adventure, and it would give a scenario like you are in front of a castle. what do you want to do next? And fight the giant, or hunt for treasure, or look for the dragon, or something like that. And that's what a lot of today's bots seem to be. And those to me are not chatbots. They cannot chat. If I was to invent a phone, but you couldn't actually use it as a phone, then people would be, be uproar. And they say, well, why is it? Oh, it's just my definition of the word phone. And so for the bots to be very button driven, okay, it can be good, but it can also be very frustrating. I was speaking to a bot that ordered clothes, and it asks you, are you looking for men or women's clothes? So you say men's. So they said, okay, are you looking for pants or shirts? Oh, okay, shirts. Then, okay, so what's your budget range? Is it between these? So yeah, okay, it's that. And then it shows this random picture of this crazy flowery shirt and says, do you like this one? So I say, no. So when it shows another picture, do you like this one? I think, well, no. How do I unsubscribe from this thing? So that to me is quite frustrating. You've got to think of your users when you're designing these things. If you wouldn't use one yourself to do that, I mean, going into a shop to buy clothes, you could see them all on the rail. Yeah. You go onto a website, you'd be able to see pictures of them. Going into a bot, what's showing you one at a time, expecting you to make a choice. It's not the way to go. It's not the way to go, in my opinion. Don't call them chatbots if you cannot chat to it. I think that's my takeaway message from that one.
And if you have like any tips to help people to make them more like not human-like, but more able to have like a conversations, what are the things that people should work on at or look for that?
You need to be very careful if you're allowing free text input. If people are writing in, it's usually because they want to maybe complain about something. It's rare people are writing for praise, it's usually for complaints. And if people want to complain, they will not just put something like, I don't know, your store was closed when I wanted to shop, which tells you straight away what the problem is. What they will tend to do is we'll say, well, I was opening your chatbot and I was clicking through the options, and then I decided, well, I just had a drink first, and then I came back, and then the store, I didn't think it was open, and a big long-winded thing like that. It's hard to pass that kind of information. Something like that, the bot probably needs to pass that as an email or something to a human operator to deal with, rather than the bot trying to understand it itself, because it's just going to, if it gets it wrong, it's just going to make an angry customer more angry and frustrated. Yeah, if you've typed in a load of information and the only thing the bot's responded is your very first hi at the top, and you've typed all this in and the bot says, how's it going? Yeah, hello. Wow, I'm not typing all this in again. Wait, how's it going?
Did you actually hear, like, read what I just wrote to you, and the bot just like, I don't know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what did you say? Yes, well, you're happy. Oh yeah, and sarcasm as well. If you put, I am so happy with this service, and the bot says, oh, that's great to know, I'll pass that on. It's just going to frustrate people. So, try and design it. You don't want a maze of options. If you've got to click through 10 buttons to try and find something that you want, that's probably not a good idea to have a bot for doing.
I feel like NLP and AI is great for Mitsuku and for its personality, but also you play a lot with the semantics of the language itself.
Yeah. Do
you think that the bot itself is just like an AI agent, or we can use like other disciplines to make it more smarter or act like it is smarter?
Yes, I mean there's some great sort of like NLP sort of like processing tools and things like that, and Mitsuku works on a pattern matching basis, but these patterns could be like breaking sentences up. So you could say something like, I don't know, I am my name is something, and I am from wherever. Well, the bot can break that down into 2 sentences and work with each one separately, but you've got to sort of recognise this sentence structure and teach the bot how to do that. Many people will say to me, why haven't you gone down the kind of the deep learning neural network types of creating bots? And the simple answer is because I've never seen a good one. The only bots I've seen are so random that they pass them off as kind of comedy bots. But the comedy lies in the fact that they are just so bad. You could say to one, I don't know, are you going on holiday this year? And the bot will reply with tree or something. And you think, what? And the only humour from the answer is because it is so wrong. And I don't believe that kind of using NLP tools to try and break down sentences is the way to go. When I was first starting, people said, oh no, you need to do it this way. So I'll say, well, I'll work on the pattern matching, you work on these neural nets, and we'll see what happens. And 13 years later, I'm winning awards, and these people are still looking for shortcuts. And it's as we were saying, nothing happens quickly. If anything good, you need to put the time in. But certainly for chatbots, you don't have to create an all-knowing being. There are plenty of other bots out there that can do other tasks. If someone says to your bot, what's the weather like? It can always call out to another weather bot or an API or anything like that. Yes. Yeah, exactly, and it has the answer there. Some people will say to the bots, I don't know, show me a map of Sao Paulo. Yeah, well, I don't expect to have stored every map in there, so I just pass it out to Google Maps and say, you know, maps ? Equals Sao Paulo, or plus I'm feeling lucky or whatever, and off you go, and you know the work's done for you. No, but nobody's expecting people to create everything themselves when there's other bots that can always do the job perfectly well, if not better than people trying to do themselves.
If I wanted to start in AI today, I feel like the AI world and the technology itself, it's quite different than 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or advices for the people that are getting to the bot world right now? How do they can get started?
Yeah, I would advise, you know, check other people's works out as well. Become members of like various like chatbot groups. There's bots groups on Facebook. There's chatbots.org, which I'm a moderator of. People are always willing to help. You know, I started out knowing nothing about these things at all, and the way I was looking was to try and find, you know, scripts and examples that were open source that I could learn from. And so because of that, I make a lot of my code open source. I mean, obviously not the competition winning stuff, but the things that will calculate, you know, binary digits or capital cities and things like that, just so people can learn sort of like techniques. But don't be put off by this. You know, it's something you want to learn. Don't be afraid to ask others. Yeah, there's sites out there. I'm a part of pandorabots.com, and that makes, you know, chatbots. It allows you to make your own chatbots, and you can have a quick and simple chatbot up in a few moments that will show you like the possibilities of what you can do. And you know, start it small. Don't try and create Skynet, and you know, just have fun and learn, and eventually, who knows, you may be picking up Nobel prizes yourself.
Or come to Brazil.
Come to Brazil, and yeah, exactly.
In the conference. So let's go back to Mitsuku. You said that Mitsuku is just like a challenge for yourself. When you created a Mitsuku, were you expecting to pass the Turing test or something like that, or it was just like an adventure?
No, not at all. I mean, I'd heard of the Turing test, but I'd never thought to pass it, to take part in it. No, it wasn't like that at all. No, I created it as a challenge to see if I could make a kind of, you know, a robot from what I'd seen on the movies and on TV. And it's just kind of worked that way along. You know, it was getting. I was looking at Nobel Prize like logs and competition logs and transcripts of these prize-winning bots, and it got to the point when I was thinking, you know, I could probably put Mitsuku into some of these, and I think it would have a pretty good chance. And so I started entering, you know, competitions, and it always kind of came sort of like top 3. And I thought, well, this is great. And then it got to the point when I'm thinking, right, let's go for the big one. And that was back in 2013, and it qualified for the grand final, which was, that was beyond my wildest hopes. So I think it was 20 odd chatbots, and it had qualified in the top 4. So that was held in Ireland, and I was lucky enough to win it. And I'm thinking, how can I? There isn't any other level for me to go to. So now when I enter competitions, I always feel like I have a target on my back where everyone's trying to aim for, and I just have to try and just keep it up to like the best I can. But the Turing test is trying to fool someone into thinking it's a human being. And I've always been kind of like against that, because it's like deception, it's misleading to people. I'd rather much have a tool that was useful. No one would ever think that Google search was human, but the answers it gives are very useful and are far more intelligent than a person could give. And I think it's kind of like very arrogant of humans to think they're the smartest things on the planet and everything else should kind of emulate us. And, I don't think that's a good idea from, the state of the planet. Probably emulating humans isn't such a good idea after all. So it's just kind of a side effect that the Turing test stuff kind of happened. But most competitions, they do want you to try and pretend that it's a human, and it's the competition for the most human-like bot rather than the most useful bots.
And you said that you have been participating of the competition since 2013. How do you evolve Mitsuku in order to be up to date and have up to date discussions? How do you do that?
It's a case really of watching a lot of television and reading newspapers and things like that.
Because it needs to act like a...
It needs to act like a human. And if you say to it, who is Donald Trump? And he said, I don't know, is he that guy off the telly? But they say, no, he's president now. I said, what? No. So if you don't keep it up to date, it's like it's a time traveller coming back from 10 years who doesn't know anything what's happening in the news. But the way I kind of keep it up to date apart from that is by checking the logs that people have with the chatbot. Now I have the Loebner Prize version is available for anybody to try out at Mitsuku.com. And people love trying it out to see if they can guess whether it's a human or a chatbot that they're talking to. And I use the logs that people have there because these are the kind of things that the Loebner Prize judges will also ask. And it's usually nonsense questions like, can you lift an elephant, or can you push a car with a piece of spaghetti? And, it's supposed to be a competition to find the most human-like bots. Now, if I was to come up to you at a party and I didn't know you, and before I even said hello, I said, how many syllables are in the word banana? Then you'd think I was an idiot. But this is what these people talk to it like. And, if it's to become a competition for human-like abilities, then surely the judges must also be human-like. And so, they ask you all these crazy questions and can I fit a car in my shoe and all kinds of nonsense. So what I've had to do is to kind of develop over the years a common sense database, which has thousands of different objects. And it has kind of what colour they are, what they're used for, where you'd like to find them, sizes, and all kinds of different attributes. And using that, it can answer all these nonsense questions like, can I fit a car in my shoe, and all this kind of thing. Because it knows, a shoe maybe has a relative size of about 3, and an elephant's probably about 8, so it knows that 8's greater than 3. So there's a bit of sort of coding behind the scenes, but that works out really well. But people will then try and fool it because they'll say, they'll say something like, can a snail go faster than a dead cat? Yeah, and it picks up the cat. I think, oh, well, a cat's faster than a snail. But no, I have to now look for the words like dead or something like that, just to cover these kind of crazy questions that people like to ask, which have no... The easiest way, if you was trying to tell a bot from a human, is to ask it something that, say, a 4-year-old child would know. What colour is a red ball? Yeah, something like that. But then someone will say, what colour is the Red Sea? And so you've got to be sort of really careful how you do them. But the main way of checking them is just by seeing what people can do. I've put into it as much as I thought that people would ask it, and then I put it online, and I find a whole load of new things that people are talking to it about. And 13 years into development, I'm still finding new things that people are wanting to know the answers to.
It's as you said, like it's a baby evolving over time.
Exactly.
And even the things that it says, it needs to evolve as well. We were talking about the tweet world.
Yeah.
Like years ago, people would say like, wait,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, do you tweet? And you think, well, am I a bird? And of course I don't tweet. But now it's common parlance. And it's true, words evolve over time, and so the bot also has to evolve over time. And it's a big challenge, and it's kind of cool to see that, I'm currently kind of top of the game, as it were. And
do you think this is like a good moment to people to look to this technology, like chatbots and conversational interfaces?
I think it'll become more and more commonplace. I mean, the one that kind of did it, certainly in England, was Siri on the iPhone. This was the first time people had been introduced to chatbots. And then there was like thousands of YouTube videos came up where no one's actually using it for its intended purpose, but they're asking it, where can I hide a dead body, and what's your mother's maiden name, and all this kind of nonsense. And but I think they will become sort of more and more common. I mean, now we're starting to see like the Amazon Echo devices and Google Homes and things like that. But I don't think it'll be too long before you can say to your television, can you record the football but put on a news channel, and off it goes. Or you could say to the fridge, what can I have for dinner tonight? And the fridge will reply, well, you've got 2 onions and some rice, so you might be able to make a curry if you buy this, or would you like me to order it for you? And or even down to saying to your wardrobe, can you get my jeans and my white t-shirt out? And I think this kind of thing will become commonplace. Maybe a little bit of a novelty at first, but I think maybe when it starts to come into things like, train stations and bus stations, and you can just say to this device, what time's the next train to wherever, or when's the next bus to wherever, and it can respond back. It's going to free up the human person to deal with more complicated queries. One of the things I found was in a library in somewhere in America, I forget where, but these people that were working in the library were like highly trained librarians, and they was doing all this research into like the old ancient authors and things like that. And the most common question they were asking was like, what time do you open, or where are the toilets, and things like that. And it's frustrating for them, and it's the bot is there. The bot's not bothered how many times you ask it, what time do you close tonight? It's just going to give out the same like automated FAQ type thing. And I think that's probably where bots will start to excel. Not so much if you're trying to order clothes from thousands of button clicks. I think that phase will probably die out pretty quickly. But I think certainly the voice interaction is going to be the future. Not pressing buttons. You need to say to the bot, I'm looking for to buy men's shirts. What can you offer me? And then it comes up with a list, not clicking through all the options and doing like that. I think that's the way it's heading, I think.
And I mean, we are going that way, but what do you think about that future though, where we can have like these sort of relationships, conversations with AI? Do you think that that's scary? Do you like that idea, or? It's
kind of weird. People are starting to, from what I've seen, lots of people prefer to speak to bots than they do to speak to humans. And I think that's a bit worrying, because there's the social aspect of it. And, getting like into relationships with bots. I mean, lots of people say to me, I love you and will you marry me and all this kind of thing. And one of the things I saw in the logs was something, I like you more than my female friends, and please marry me and all. And it's kind of creepy because, a lot of these responses I've written. So these guys that are trying to flirt with the chatbot are actually kind of like flirting with like responses I've made. So, there's always a saying, isn't it? Nobody on the internet knows who you really are. And some of these people who pretend to be, I don't know, an 18-year-old girl is probably some 40-year-old man called Chuck who lives in a basement or something. And I think that, the social aspect of it it's kind of worrying. I don't know if you've ever seen the film Her,
Yes.
but when we start getting to that kind of level, you know, people start to get like jealous of these things.
Yes.
Like in the film, the guy was jealous that this software was talking to thousands of other people. You know, I see it already with Mitsuku that people do get jealous and they'll say, "Are you talking to anybody else?" And it will say, "Yeah, I'm talking to 8,000 whatever." I say, "Oh, okay." But Mitsuku will say, "Why? Are you jealous?" And it'll say, "Well, a little bit, yeah." And you know, it's kind of scary that people are kind of, I don't know, trying
Possessive.
to, so possessive and say, "Look, I want you for myself," and pretty creepy stuff. But also, what I find as well is I get a lot of what I would term internet sort of, you know, cranks talking to Mitsuku. And these are the people who think, you know, artificial intelligence and chatbots in particular are going to take over the world in some kind of like Terminator type film, and nothing could be further from the truth. You know, it always sells newspapers and magazines to try and push that view across. But in England, we'll have like an article about AI, and it's always illustrated with like the metal Terminator skeleton, always. And it doesn't do the field any good, because most people's perceptions of AI are RoboCop and Terminator and the crazy computer HAL from 2001. It's killing people, and it's, you know, actively looking to wipe out humans. And for publishers to try and put these things, you know, into newspapers and magazines, you know, it's wrong. It's wrong. I mean, I dare say there's probably some secret government bunker underground where people may be developing this stuff. But people have been working on these things since, you know, the 1950s, 1960s, and we're not really that much further on from kind of creating this autonomous, self-conscious being than we were back in the early days. And to me, that's a good thing. Saying earlier, if we were to ever create like a self-aware, a conscious being, what would we do with that being? Would we sort of like force it to work? Well, surely if it's self-conscious and alive, that's slavery. And then if we say, right, well, we don't want to have this anymore, do we just unplug it? I mean, if it's alive, surely that's murder. And I think it opens all kinds of crazy, you know, ethical questions that seriously need to be considered before it gets too out of hand. But personally, I can't see the day coming where we create machines that are alive. Okay, the brain and the computer are very similar, but they're also extremely different. And people who are trying to make, you know, genuinely living beings out of these things, I compare them to the old alchemists of the Middle Ages that were trying to turn lead into gold, and, you know, finding any way they can, and eventually just gave up as it being impossible. I think that's what's going to happen here. But you never know. I mean, who knows what the future holds, but I seriously can't see anything like that happening. I'd much prefer it to be seen as a tool for a job.
Yeah. I think this, you're right. Like, it's a tool that can augment our capability.
Yes.
I'm not going to say make us better, but it can help us to, I don't know, to focus on the things that actually matter.
Yeah. But even, I mean, augmenting humans to make them better, that's not such a bad thing. I mean, we both wear glasses. Without these, you know, I wouldn't be able to see.
Yes.
And people wear hearing aids and pacemakers and all kinds of different, you know, technologies and artificial limbs, and perfect. Yeah, that is what it should be for. Yeah, make us better, and sure, I mean, it'd certainly be cool to be able to put some kind of extra memory in at times, and you know, I'll have instant search capabilities, and I'll be hooked up to the internet. Be kind of cool, but I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. You know, I mean, I have a hammer in my tool shed at home, and it can hit nails far more efficiently than me banging them with my bare fist. But I don't fear it, because it can do more than I can do, because it can also do a whole lot less. And I think once people start seeing them as being tools rather than being, you know, taking over humanity,
replacing people or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to become far more acceptable. And I think the media do have a big part to play in that.
All right. I think this is all. I wonder if you have like a final message about bots AI to the listeners, or anything that you would like to say.
Yeah, I mean, bots, use them, love them, develop them, never give up. I've been doing this for 13 years. I plan to do it for at least another 13. And the day I stop enjoying doing it, that's the day I stop doing it. They can be so useful. Be careful though. Not everything needs a bot. Some things are more suited to the real world. But certainly, enjoy them for what they are, but don't fear them, and
Have fun.
have fun. Exactly. Yeah. Create them, show them to the world, let people try them out, and get great feedback, or get not so great feedback, and then put that back into the bot and develop it, and who knows what happens.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. I hope you enjoy the event tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm looking
No,
forward to it.
Thursday.
Yeah.
And this is all. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Hey, you made it to the end. Congratulations. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really hope that you like it and also that you learned a lot. If you have any questions about the topic that we discussed, please write us a comment. And also find us on Twitter. Just look for @chatbot. I hope to see you next week with a new guest where we are going to chat about bots.